All right, welcome everybody. Here's the very latest we have for you right now on a shutdown that shows no sign of letting up. Back pay on the way. Well, the House is set to vote moments from now to do just that for thousands of federal workers. GOP leaders will then speak. Democrat leaders after that. We're going to bring you both as soon as they come, but as soon as they start the name calling, we're going to get out of it because we think that's stupid. Meanwhile, Secretary of State John Kerry in Bali, where the president was supposed to be heading today, blasting Congress for the message it is sending to the world. And if you are trying to sign up with those new federal health exchanges this weekend, good luck. It will be down for maintenance during off-peak hours. All right, the president is making changes to the health care law and has done so no fewer than a dozen times, but now tells Republicans, at least Republicans say, that they cannot. They say that's unfair. Texas Democratic Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee says that is not unfair. She joins me right now. Congresswoman, if the president says, as he has in an AP interview today, that he is open to changes in the health care law just after we sign a clean continuing resolution, what's to stop Republicans from saying, we don't trust you, we don't believe you will do that? What do you say?
Well, first of all, I find that upsetting and disappointing, and if I might use the word despicable, because all of us have lived in skins where we've had presidents that have not been in our party. If I was to say that about President Bush on a number of issues, when we created the Homeland Security Department or did a number of important legislative initiatives, President Bush did the whole Leave No Child Behind, and Democrats had to trust, but they also had to work together. Here's my point, Neil. First of all, no matter what sub-caucus you may be in the Republican side or the Democratic side, we have all had our moments of collaborating with the other party. I've certainly co-sponsored, worked on legislation, passed legislation. The border security comes to mind, and many others where I've worked with my friends and colleagues on the other side of the aisle. This is enormously upsetting that there is a small contingent, yes, of radical right that is really going to destroy the Republican conference. The New York Times today said that among all the things that Speaker Boehner is trying to do, he's just trying to hold it together. Here's the point. Even in the shutdown of '95 that I was here as a baby member, Newt Gingrich, in all of the frustration, had dialogue, but it was a budgetary issue. This is a legislative issue that is a law of the land. Everyone knows that bills are frequently amended and changed. No one has said that the Affordable Care Act will continue in its form without some input, even by Democrats, working collaboratively together. What we have now is crisis. Neil, we're hearing stories of these non-essential workers who are usually at the low end of the totem pole in the federal government. We know we have unemployment everywhere, so we know people are suffering everywhere, and we're working to surge this government up. But we're hearing people having to be taken away to a shelter because of domestic abuse. We just heard a story of a soldier's wife who is so frustrated and so stressed because she doesn't know what she's going to do. He's in Afghanistan, and she's laid off.
But Congresswoman, so you can replay a lot of those. You know, you can replay a lot of those stories, but both parties are pretty good at sort of using events to make the point. I want to alert you, though, Congresswoman, because a lot of people raise hackles when soon after the bizarre incident in Washington this week with the chase scene and the shooting, you said this. I want to go back to this.
Rather than respond in a way that leaves 8,000 federal employees unemployed. And God knows the tragedy of this poor person who came on the Hill in a black car. No one knows what would drive this person to do this. But what I would say to you is, let's get our wheels back on, serve the American people, bring them back, vote for a bill today that will open the government.
I didn't understand that, Congresswoman. You weren't equating or blaming the shutdown on what that woman did, were you?
Not at all, and my words are very clear, very, very clear, very, 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 very clear. I asked a question. I didn't suggest an answer. I said no one knows what drove this person, but let us get back to getting people back to work so that we can move government forward and make sure that we are lessening the stress.
Then why did you bring it up? Why did you bring it up
because
in the context of talking about ending the shutdown?
Neil, because I have a right to the First Amendment, and I was saddened by the fact that this happened. And then, of course, I watched our brave men and women in all of the police forces trying to do the best that they could, many of them unpaid. And so it was a
I know, but you're a
perfectly
prominent
right
leader
analysis.
in Congress.
It's a
Congresswoman.
perfectly right analysis, Neil, and I'm not going to pull my words back.
But I'm telling you,
I was
when
saddened
you say
by that
when you say
disappointing
that
situation.
I know, but when you say that and the president talks about default and the president talks he's surprised that the market's not being more volatile, in your role as a leader and a prominent member of Congress, all the way up to the President of the United States, is that type of language really adding fuel to the fire? Does it do a disservice not only to your constituents, but the country?
Neil, thank you for the question. No, I don't think so, because I didn't throw any fire and gasoline. What I said was, clearly, is we don't know. But I tell you what we do know that we can do. We can get our government with its wheels running again. And the simple process, if I can go back to the point that I was making, we don't have any disagreement, unlike that's being represented by a senator from Texas and Senator Lee, with the idea that we can work through the Affordable Care Act, being that it's the law of the land. But what I said is, let's get the government running, and that's what the president said, and we will be able to, including the president, is willing to work with Congress. And by the way, negotiations should be going on with the House and the Senate, the leadership of the House and the Senate. And Harry Reid, as much as we might want to charge him up with inappropriate procedural leadership, and I think he has done an excellent job.
Well, the Republicans say he's not even bothering to meet with them. So I don't know who's to blame here, but both sides.
Let me say this.
Both sides.
What he has said
I follow
is
this fairly
he is not
closely,
going to be
Congress.
held
Both sides
hostage,
seem to be
Neil,
acting like
by
kids.
defunding the Obamacare. We can't do that. We cannot be held hostage.
But you
Let's
are
just
saying,
pass a clean
but
CR.
I want to be clear, Congress. You are saying if you just get a clean spending measure through, then you're happy to revisit health care, not necessarily funding it, but delaying key provisions of it. And you are asking Republicans to take you at your word for that you'll do that.
Okay, let me, you have it clear through regular order. Through the regular order, that's me speaking, of looking at issues that are of concern. I didn't say that delaying the mandate, but that's regular order. They can put up a bill, as they've done, and through regular order. Frankly, the defunding of Obamacare and delaying the one-year mandate for the individual, when we have already opened it up and it's working at the speed that it's going to continue to work at as they fix the glitches when Google first opened up. But Neil, what I'm saying is we would be willing. We'd be willing to engage in the legislative process like I assume they did in the 1965 passage of Medicare, then Medicaid, which has had many changes, which, by the way, the Republicans passed with very few Democratic votes on Medicare Part D. Many changes have come about, including Obamacare closing the donut hole. Neil, we can do this. We have done this with our Republican colleagues.
You want the clean resolution first and then continue. Yeah. Congresswoman?
I'm ready to do it, my friend.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good having you.
Thank you for having me.
All right. The vote is ensuing in the House right now where they're going to try to pay furloughed workers. We'll see how that goes.